Hello, I'm Lloyd Moyer. Um, I've lately been playing around with some of these decorative tower candlestick type shapes that don't hold candles. Um, I got a suggestion from an interior decorator that I try and do something like this. So I've just been playing around with them a little bit lately. And in today's video, you're going to watch me make this one. It has a captive ring. Um, had some aborted efforts with some carving that didn't work. And I had a nice skew chisel catch, so you'll get to watch me do that too. So that was all fun. So enjoy. I appreciate your watching me. So the idea for this project came from an interior designer who actually had in his display room a grouping of candles. They were basically candlesticks that didn't have didn't hold candles. They were just long tapers, decorative tapers sitting on a table. And when he found out that I was a wood turner, he said, "Oh, so you could do something like this." And I said, "Sure." And my first thought was, "But why?" Um, but then I got to thinking and said, "Why the heck not?" So I've been playing with them recently, um, and I'm going to try to do one on camera with this guy here. So first, I just have to get rid of this bark and this flat spot. This is going to be the bottom. This will be the top. So I think actually I'm gonna round this out, and then I'm gonna turn it around, and I'll see if I can make the bottom nice before I get too far. I'm just gonna start with a peel and cut. Just getting it down to the right size. Going a little bit fast for roughing out for my comfort level. Still not there. Goodness, still not round yet. Getting there. I have this nice knot here. That's going to be fun to deal with. I actually might get below that too. So one of the fun things about being a wood turner for me is things like this that I never thought to do. I've always been a practical wood turner. Um, I always wanted to make stuff for people to use. And so it's been fun. It is often fun for me when when I get challenges, when I get, hey, can you do this? And it's like, well, shit, I never thought of that. Um, whether it be, somebody asked me if I could make a baseball bat for a sign. And it's like, well, I've made a baseball bat before, so I don't see why not. I'm already round here. I just want to get under the bark. One more cut, and then I'm going to turn this around. Close enough. So the diameter that I have on this base is already right where I want it to be. So I just have to clean it up. Actually going to do this with my 3/8 spindle gouge. I'm way up above center, so I'll lower it down so I can get on here with my spindle gouge and see if I can get a half decent cut. Some people can get a better cut here with a skew chisel. I'm not one of them. I'm trying to make this nice because I don't think I'm going to be able to get to this again. Slowing it down there a little bit because now you can't see on the you can't see on the end here, but I have some checking in the end grain here. But because of what it is that I'm turning, I'm really not worried about that. What I am worried about is the marks from the chuck that I have sitting here that I just want to clean up, that I'm going to try and make into the cleaning up of it. I'm going to try and make into a design element. And what I'm doing here, like there is no form to what I'm doing right now. There is no rhyme or reason to it. Which is something else that has always been a little bit difficult for me. Like I'm just I'm just sort of going wherever the wind takes me. Um, and without a plan. All right, that got the chalk marks out. So now I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. And run some sandpaper over it. When I get this little nub to come off, there's no support back here. This thing is very long, and I just don't want it to. It just worries me. It should get through. There it goes. Now what I'm going to try and do right now, see if I can. Maybe what I'm actually going to try and do. That. A lot of stuff you can do if you take your time and are gentle. I will say that. Let's see if this fits into this longer chuck. Just right. I think I've said before on these videos, my stepfather always said, I'd rather be lucky than good. And this is prime example. So the only design element that I know for sure on this that I want to have is I want to have a large sort of oval bead in right about in here. Not quite in the base, maybe a little lower, that I'm going to carve, I think. Other than that, we're just going to see where it takes us. Going to true the rest of this up now. Remember, I had some bark to get rid of. If we go right about here. No. Well, actually, I'm going to be... There's my oval. I want to be able to come down to it. And I want the oval to actually stick out. So if I go in here with my parting tool, and again, this is basically a candlestick, so I'm going to want it to taper, and I'm going to want it to be thin. The reason I started with such a thick piece is because I wanted the base to be thick. I don't really want any other part of it to be very thick. So on one of the previous ones that I did, I also put a captive ring on it. One of the smaller ones has a captive ring. I might do that as well. Further on up. Things like this project, are really great for just practicing your skew chisel work. What I'm doing right now, this is probably the best skew chisel practice you can get, right? You're just making shavings. Now, what I do want to have is I want the both sides of this to be the same size. That's also good practice. I'm going to do this with a, got a spindle gouge around here somewhere. I just want to take some, material off. And I often do it faster with a gouge. Actually, do it even faster with a bowl gouge. You use the bowl gouge in a shearing cut. It's basically almost like a like a skew chisel. You can get a lot of material off very quickly. Notice I didn't say nicely. See where that's bouncing around there, I think is where that knot is. Good. Might as well keep going with the skew chisel. Healing time. So what I'm thinking of doing here is indexing and doing some carving. So I'm just going to take my pencil. I may do this now. I may do this later. I think I'll do it later. But what I'm going to do is carve lines in this, just like that. This is every other indexing point on my spindle. And what I'll do is I'll make them, I'll round them off, hopefully. I do always feel like when you do any kind of a decoration on any kind of turning piece, it works better if you frame it in some way. So if you have a cove like this, I have the two beads. When I have the bead, I have the two grooves. Or if you have a bead that sits proud, that sits up, you know, it's always, I always feel like it's better to have two rather than one. There is where I'm going to have my captive ring. Why not use everything at your disposal, right? That being said, I don't necessarily want this to just be like a piece of gingerbread. Since I'm doing a captive ring here, I am going to want to sand this also, just the ring, before I turn it off. And remember, I have to remember also something that I forgot on the other one, that I'm a little less concerned with the bottom because of the way this is going to sit, you're never going to see the bottom of the ring. There's no way to turn it upside down. But you're always going to look at the top. You're not going to look at this part of the ring. You're going to look at this part of the ring. Um, so it's important that that gets a good finish. That being said, I'm going to try and give a good finish to all the surfaces, but I'm going to pay special attention to where people are going to be able to see it. Captive ring tools are really nifty. Um, Really handy if you do any kind of anything that you want to do a captive ring with. It just, you can tell me that they're cheating if you want to, but I don't mind cheating in that case because I'm not really just getting a better result, which I never think is a bad thing. My half-inch spindle gouge just came to hand here to clean up this little cove. Just wanted to see how this looks. That came out really well. We did just about get below that knot. This needs some cleanup. This needs a nicer cut. Skew chisel. So I think that probably will do best with sandpaper. Never feel bad about getting the best cut I can with sandpaper. A little more light, that helps. Um, sandpaper is just another tool at your disposal, right? Like, if you can't get a clean cut or a clean enough cut, and you can clean it up with sandpaper, clean it up with sandpaper. Right? That's not to say you shouldn't get good practice with your tool skills, but and if you want the end result to be as nice as you can get it, you know, sandpaper is just another tool at your disposal. Use it. I can't get this the way I want it, so this ring is in my way. I know you're gonna give me a hard time about the philosophy of wood turning, right? There. You want this to be a little more even. That's fine. Now the top, so I'm fine with all of this, I think. Maybe put a little, that's not going to cut the way I want it to. All right. Because there's this knot here, I was gonna try a, my spiraling tool with that, but I think because of this, I'm just gonna leave that as sort of a clean cut, but I'll give a better definition here. Something else that when you're changing direction, have something that defines that direction change. That'll make it look nicer. It makes it look intentional in a way. So now for the top here, I think I'm just going to do a long taper. I do this better with the skew. What I'm thinking here is I want it to look almost like a flame, like a cartoon flame, and then sort of bulbous in the bottom, and then tapering and towards the top. I don't think I need it to be this big, though. I mean, just do it right from here. Just need to make sure that the ring can't come off. But it's a pretty small ring. I'm not real worried. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to have this almost like a bulb, that then has sort of an OG to a long taper. Again, this really just skew chisel practice. I'm finding that both design practice and skew chisel technique practice is how this is shaping up for me. I'm trying this and seeing if I can get some interest in the market for it. And And if I can't, then that's fine. Um, but I'm just trying. Little catch there. If you can see what actually happened there was I was moving back and the tool actually I wasn't planning on taking a cut, and the tool actually caught right here, and you can see where it actually got drawn back and the point dug in. But again, you get catches with the skew chisel. And there isn't a whole lot. You really can't get. I don't feel like you ever get a catastrophic catch with a skew chisel that's going to blow anything up, which is comforting. They can be scary because they happen quickly and they can drag all the way down your workpiece. But they never do really big damage, or don't often do really big damage. At the top of this, what do I have here? Oh, I've got a knot there. Look at that. That's actually kind of neat. I wonder if I can. Probably can't. I was going to see if I could incorporate that, but I don't think that's going to work. Might have to go all the way below that. No, maybe not. See, it's like it's a branch. Actually, I really want to try and use that. That's kind of neat. What did I say earlier? There isn't much that you can do if you don't do it gently, or much you can't do if you do it gently. And slowly, gently and slowly. Before I get any further here, I actually have a lot of support up here, so I probably can do this without the tail center, but I'm going to stand just to be safe. Got a little bit of a hump here. fresh bit of 180 grit. That should help. Yep, all good with that. Next, I'm gonna at least start with a chisel. Give myself sort of a starting point. So there is a very important decision I have finally come to, and that is I'm a wood turner, not a freaking wood carver. Every time I try and deal with the Dremel tool, it's such a bitch. So I'm not doing it. I will try my other tool, my rotary tool on here. Which I don't think will do me a whole lot more good. All right, so I'm going to start with the rotary tool. I'm going to start with a relatively flat spot. You have to back the tool rest way up and slow the piece way down. They recommend no more than about 500 RPMs. Which is about what that is. And you want the workpiece to be at about, you want the tool to be about level. Honestly, I've never gotten outstanding results with this either. But I've always sort of been okay with that. I've been okay with the results that I've got. Okay. Nah, that looks like crap. If anybody watching has had any experience with that rotary tool and had luck with it, message me and tell me how you did it. Because if I just want to texture something, it's fine. But if I want to truly make it look spiraled like they do in the ads, it never works. Never been able to get it to perform the way it's supposed to. Still just that little bit there. Still there. How about that? All right, got it. Truly do believe it's very important to try things. It's very important to try things and fail, right? In life in general. But it's especially at wood turning, I think it's very important to try new things and to keep trying things that you've had trouble with. It's all valuable, you know? Slowly and gently, right? Maybe I will put the bit of finish on this. This goat wax, Dr. Kirk's goat wax, really gives a beautiful matte finish that I really, really enjoy. It's a food safe finish. Not that I need something food safe for this, but it has some both. I think it has both some beeswax and carnauba wax in it. Putting finish on the ring is sometimes a pain. All right. Very gently going to see if I can take this off of here now. I think I'm just going to do it with the little scooches only. And turn the speed all the way down and then just pop it back up just a little bit. This is like 230 RPMs. There it goes. So like I said, there's enough, it's a good amount of support at the long end that I can actually probably could do some turning on this still without a whole lot of trouble. Notice the way I'm sanding this because the very center is barely moving, especially when it's turning slowly. Got a little bit of wax into that little fissure there. Okay.